So before I get started, two things. So a while back, it was probably January or February, I get a call from Mark Konzemius, and he says, "Hey BJ, would you want to come down and speak at the Catholic Men's Business Conference in May?" It's a long ways away, I know, I just want to give you a heads up. And I said, "No, I don't." And he said, "Nah, just think about it. Just think about it." I said, "No, I don't want to." He said, "No, just think about it. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be good to have you here." And I said, "Okay, Mark, I'll think about it." About a month later, I get an email from Mark that says, "Hey, you got to get me a bio and a picture for this talk you're doing on May 17th. And so I ignored the email. About 2 weeks later, I get another one. It says the same thing. And I finally picked up the phone. I said, "Mark, I didn't tell you yes." "Well, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did." I said, "No, I didn't. But I guess I'll have to do it now because you got me penned in, right?" "Yeah, okay." So that's one story. So I got May 17th marked on my calendar, and trying to figure out logistics with my schedule and how that's all going to fit, and the fact that my wife got really busy recently. She ran for and won a seat in the State House of Representatives, so she's been a mom for years, and that's something that she really wanted to do. Excuse me. My lawn guy at the lake home is calling me. Not going to talk to him. So she got busy, and there was no time for a vacation. Something she's wanted to do is be in the legislature. Been a great mom, great wife. And so that pushed off a vacation, and she said, "Well, we got to take a vacation." I said, "Okay, we can take a vacation. When do you propose that?" So she picked out these dates of May. I don't remember, we left the 4th or the 3rd and came back the 13th, and she decided we were going to go to Jamaica. I said, "Okay, that's fine, we're getting back. I got to make sure I'm in Sioux Falls on the 17th of May. So last Tuesday, I'm in Jamaica. Last Tuesday, I'm in Jamaica, and I get a text from Joe, and it says, "Hey BJ, I'm looking forward to your reflection tomorrow. Do we have any time to connect today?" And I'm thinking, dude, there is no way that's tomorrow because I'm not going to be there. I didn't even respond. I waited for the email, and he got the email, and he says, "Oops, sorry, I got my dates mixed up." So there's Mark and Joe. Somehow they wrangled me into this, and Joe just about got me a week early. So I guess I'm going to start with my Catholic faith is not contrary to life. It is life, and it's to be lived that way. Did I always know that? I don't think so, but through my experience of my family, my parents, my wife, my kids, and my friends, I've learned that over the years. So I will say that probably the best thing to understand, and maybe who I am, where I came from, what I'm doing now. I'll give you just a brief outline of life for me, of how I got to where I am now, and then I'm going to go back and maybe fill in some gaps for you with some details and some experiences that are, maybe a little bit funny, maybe a little emotional for me. I talk about my family, and the Holy Spirit likes to have a little fun with me. So I was born in the Twin Cities down in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I lived there in Eagan until I was 8 years old. My parents were both from South Dakota. We moved back to Warner, South Dakota. My dad, of all things, bought a bar and a restaurant. And so we moved back there, and I come from this great big school in the Twin Cities. And I go to Warner, my first day of school, I'll never forget it. I walk into the 3rd grade class, and I came from a class of 90, 3 sections of 30 students, and I walk into a class of 16 with 12 boys and 4 girls. So it was a bit of a culture shock at age 8, and didn't know what to think, but we had a good life. I always say we lived on love back then, and it was fun. I had an older brother and a younger sister. We lived there until I was 17 years old, and right between my junior and senior year, we moved to Harriet, which is my dad's hometown. And if you know anything about Harriet, it's in the way northwest corner of our diocese. As a matter of fact, St. Michael's Parish up there is the furthest parish away from our mother church here that we're standing in. So we moved back there, and I went to school there 1 year, graduated in 1986, and went on to college. Graduated from college from Northern State University. There's a few stories in there that I want to tell you later, but graduated from Northern State University in May of 1990. and I had a degree in accounting and business management, and I went to work for a CPA firm out in Mobridge, South Dakota, which is where I met my wife. We got married in 1994, quickly had 4 boys. Tell you a lot about that in a little while. I was at that CPA firm for 8 years and became a partner 4 years later. We bought out the managing partner. I became the principal, majority owner, managing partner, and carried that on until 2010. And I ran into the Primrose boys. Jim Thayers, who founded Primrose, also has roots from the CPA firm that I ended up managing, back in the 80s. He was there before I was. One of my other partners at Primrose, Brian Morgan, who's brother to Father JP upstairs, was working with me for a time at our CPA firm. So when I came to Primrose, I wasn't looking to go anywhere. Jim tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, you looking to join Primrose by any chance? I said, no. I kind of laughed at him. I had a pretty good life, felt like I knew where I was at in life. Family was good, but he bugged me a few different times. And the bottom line is he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I came in as one of the principal partners and the president of the company. If you don't know what Primrose Retirement Communities is right now, the company was founded in 1989 by Jim Thayers. We are developers and operators of senior living communities, retirement homes. We do independent living, assisted living, and memory care. We have currently 35 communities in 17 different states around the country. We have 1,600 employees. So it's fun. We're very passionate about what we do. We take care of people. Part of our motto, or part of our tagline is we enrich the lives of seniors. And if you know anything about seniors that are living in retirement communities, when they wake up in the morning, there's 2 things on their mind. What am I going to eat and what am I going to do? So we have very robust dining services and very robust what we call life enrichment programs, and it's the key to, I think, our success. So I had that opportunity. Excuse me. Couldn't turn it down. We moved to Aberdeen from Mobridge in 2010, so 13 years ago. Had the opportunity to get our boys into Aberdeen Roncalli, which was a nice plus, getting them into a Catholic school system. So that's how I got here. I'm going to back up a little bit now, just to maybe share some experiences throughout life. When I graduated from high school, my dad bought me luggage. And I thought, wow. I said, we going on a trip? He's like, I'm not. And so this is Dad's tough love is, so you got 2 options, BJ. 1, you're going to get a job and you're going to move out. 2, you can decide to go to college. And if you go to college, you can stay here for the summer, but you're going to get a job. Well, I quickly decided I'm going to college because I didn't know where else I was going to go. So worked the summer, started at Northern State University in the fall of 1986. I spent 4 years there. 2 of those years I'd lived in the Newman Center on the campus of Northern State University. And that's got some great memories, some very significant friends that I met through the Newman Center. And at the time, if any of you were ever up in Aberdeen for a search retreat, the Presentation Sisters at the time were doing the search retreats, and I'll tell you, that's where I met the Morgans, all of them, including, at the time, he was JP, the news director up at PC, now Father Morgan. And a number of different friends. I can rattle off a bunch of them. That search program in that Newman Center at Northern State University produced a lot of good Catholics. It was just a great way to make friends, and most of you have been through the college experience, and there's a lot of outside influences that can pull you in the wrong direction. And I'm very, very grateful for that experience that I had at the Newman Center. I went to daily mass often. Part of the Newman Club, we do ski retreats. At the time, when I was at the Newman Center, Father Mike Kelly was the priest there. Father Chuck Simple was the priest at SDSU's Newman Center, and Father Mike Wensing was the priest at USD. So the 3 of those Newman Centers would all get together and do a ski retreat out to the Black Hills. And again, connecting with other Catholic college students and those priests And one of the years, Father Joe Vogel was the vocations director. He joined us, and it was just an experience that you can't even describe in words. There was a lot of laughing and a lot of fun, but a lot of good prayer time and a lot of good influence for a lot of college kids. So I really, really appreciate the time that I had at that Newman Center. One other good memory I have of the Newman Center is my wife was not raised a Catholic, and she joined the church, I think it's about 4 months before we got married. And she was actually one of Bishop Carlson's first individuals that he confirmed. She was confirmed and joined the church, did her RCIA with Father Vogel at the Newman Center in Aberdeen. And then we were why can't I grab that word? We were engaged to be married in the small chapel at the Newman Center in Aberdeen. So it's a very special place for me. And being in Aberdeen, I go over there from time to time just to reflect on if you've ever been up there and you ever in its existence and you walk in there today, it's identical. There's nothing changed. It's the same furniture, it's the same everything. So it's just kind of nice to walk back in there and you feel like you're still in college. So the start of going to daily mass and that was really where, through the search program, I got into a prayer life and a routine. And I think that routine is very important. My wife and I started praying together before we were even married. It was very important to both of us. And so when we got married, we started that routine of morning prayer and evening prayer, where we pray together both ends of the day. And we still do that today. We had Zachary, our oldest one, 10 months after we got married. 13 months after that, we had Spencer. 2.5 years after that, we had William III. And a year and a half after that, we had Lucas. We started praying with Zach day one. Brandy would rock him, and we had decided early on what prayers we would teach our kids. So we started early. I believe half hour ain't gonna be enough, Joe. This is dumb. I believe one of the most impactful things you can do as a father is allow your kids. Good grief. Especially your boys, to see you on your knees in prayer. They need to see you humble. They need to see you obedient. And it's very important for them to see that. My boys have been a lot of fun. They're grown up now. Our youngest one is just finishing his 4th year at SCSU. He's the one that you just worry about a little bit. Lucas, he's on the golf team, and I think he feels like that's his major. So he's got 1 year of eligibility left because of COVID. Our son William III is he's married and lives down in Vermilion. He's a diesel mechanic, and he's just a good dude. And he's gonna be a good father, and he is a good husband already. I'm waiting for grandkid number 1. I don't have one yet. My son Spencer is a doctor of physical therapy, works for Big Stone Therapies up in Millbank, South Dakota. And then Zachary, some of you know him. He's Father Zach over at Holy Spirit. Watching him be ordained. Excuse me. Was one of the most amazing feelings I've ever had in my life. I can't put it into words. I'm so grateful for my boys, and to watch Zach go through the seminary and through his diaconate and his priestly ordination was nothing short of amazing to me. I've learned a lot from him, and he's my son. I told you we have a routine, my wife and I, so routines are good. In my business, as a CPA, it's so important to be organized. I lived and died by my schedule, especially during the busy season. So I got to be a list maker, and it just helped me stay organized. And those routines every day at the accounting firm were important. And having that routine, that daily routine of what I do in prayer has helped me a ton. I get up every morning at 4:30 now. Those routines change over the years. Our routine when the boys were young, we focused on them. We're the first teachers of our kids of the faith, right? And we took that very seriously. We also did a lot of work with the church. We were always involved. The boys were always altar servers. We were lectors and Eucharistic ministers, and we ran the religious education program out in Mobridge. We've been on the foundation board since, I don't know, seems like 2006 or 5, 16 or 17 years. But the boys were always along there with us. The fishing tournament was a big deal for us, and I'm still involved in that. Brandy and I both are. But those routines of prayer with the boys every day. And sometimes, life would get so busy, there's a lot of frustrations. We've lived through those times, but I believe our prayer has gotten us through a lot of tough times, Brandy and me. So I get up every morning now at 4:30, and I exercise for 45 minutes to an hour, because I think that's important. After that, Brandy and I sit down and we do the daily readings, and we do a devotion, and then we have some prayers that we pray together. And then depending on the morning up in Aberdeen, I can't get these priests convinced that keep that time of daily mass consistent, and I lose that battle with every new priest we got coming in, but I got a new one coming July 1. I'm going to work on him too. So 2 days a week it's at 7:30 in the morning, 2 days a week it's at 5:30, and 1 day a week they got the school mass at 8:30, I believe it is. I don't make it to that one. I love the 7:30 mass, because after Brandy and I get done praying, I go to daily mass. And it's a great way to start the day. I just love going to mass and then going to work. I got 3 partners, they're all Catholic. We got a pretty good group of Catholic men that work for us at our headquarters. Our Primrose headquarters are right in Aberdeen. And I told you we had 1,600 employees across the country. 65 of those employees are part of the headquarters. Not all of them live right in Aberdeen. We have, I think, 15 of those 65 are out in different regions of the country where it makes sense to have them. But I I try to lead with some humility. You know, my original boss at the accounting firm was rough, and all I knew how to do was work. That's what my dad taught me to do, and so I learned to get along with him. And he said to me, my boss said to me after a couple of years of being there, and he never had any partners. And he had founded the firm in 1964, and we were a good-sized local firm. Most of the farmers and ranchers out in that area were clients of ours. We covered a pretty good swath of north central, central South Dakota. And he said to me one time, you know, I've never met anybody that I thought could ever take over this firm. But he said, I believe you can. And he never gave anybody that opportunity. And I looked at that as a gift from God. Somebody like him that would say that or see that in me. I just felt like it was a gift. But I never wanted to lead like him. That's what I learned from him, is I did not want to be like him. And so when I took over the firm, things changed. There was a bit of a revolving door, but I treated people with respect. And I made it very clear to them that their life outside our business was way more important than our business. And I believe that. And I still talk to my people about that today. I have, up until July 1, I had 13 department heads that report to me of the various departments of our company. And as I get a little bit older, I'm 55 right now. As I get a little older and want to start slowing down, I needed to make some changes. So in July 1, I brought up 5 executive vice presidents out of department heads. And so 3 of them report to me is all I have. So things have changed significantly. We're trying to shift some duties. And I'm a planner, so I want to have a plan. These folks know me well enough, but I continue to remind them of the humility that it takes to be a good leader. You know, a couple of saints that I look to many times, St. Joseph Carpenter and St. Benedict. My spiritual director is the one that put me on to St. Benedict. And I would encourage all of you, if you don't have a spiritual director, get one. I didn't have one up until about 6 years ago. And it's a game changer, I'm telling you. And I got one that we are completely opposite. And I'm telling you, he's challenged me in ways I didn't think I could be challenged. And that's Father Mike Griffin. I don't know if any of you know Father Mike Griffin, but he is not like me at all. He is so out there in left field most of the time. And I tell him that, and he keeps telling me it's better than being in right field where you're at. So we go back and forth, but he's the one that turned me on to St. Benedict. And so I've gone through the Rule of Benedict, and I did it in a unique way the first time that I did it. It was organized in a book that Sister Joan Chittister put together, and you're meant to go through the rule 3 times a year, and so every day there's a bit of the rule, and then she's got a commentary. And if you know anything about St. Benedict, he really pushes humility and obedience. And you know, Father Griffin gave me what I call a battle book. It's a little green book. He was a military chaplain for a lot of years. So gave me this little green book. He said, write down what you think. Any thoughts, whether it's this, that, or the other, not just this book. But I took it and I used the book and I used the rule and I wrote down all the things that impacted me. And it's amazing the little nuggets I could take out of there that meant something in my life as the president of Primrose. One of the things that I learned, one of the things that became glaringly apparent on focus, how do you get everybody, Mark and I just talked about this earlier today, how do you get everybody moving in the same direction? How do you get them focused on what's our vision? You know, like I told you, part of our tagline is enriching the lives of seniors. How do you keep people focused on that? And so, as I'm reading through this book, I come across this little story, and it's quite simple, and it's just a little reminder of you got to focus on what the end result is going to be, not necessarily what's happening between now and then. But the story goes that a traveler was going through Italy, and he comes across 3 stonemasons. And they're all doing exactly the same thing. They've got these great big stones, and they're all sanding on these stones. And he walks up to the first one, and he says, "What are you doing?" And the guy looks at him, and he says, "I'm sanding this stone." And so he says, "All right." So he goes on to the next one, and he says, "Sir, what are you doing?" And he said, "I'm building a foundation." "Oh, okay." And he goes on to the next one, and he says, "Sir, what are you doing?" And this guy says, "I'm building a cathedral." That's the guy that had the vision. That's the guy that understood that he's part of that big picture. My role as a leader is to make people understand they're part of that big picture. But how do you do it? You treat them with respect. You lead like Christ. You don't hammer on people. You treat them with respect. You challenge them. You have to lay out Christ laid out all kinds of expectations for us, right? You can do the same thing as a leader. And you can do it the same way without pounding your fist and screaming and yelling like I used to get at the accounting firm. That's important. So I remind my people every time I meet with them, my leaders, that we all have titles. I'm the president. That doesn't make me any more important than anybody else. And your title doesn't make you any more important than anybody else either. We're all in this together. Our titles define what we do when we show up. So what I do when I show up is what the president is supposed to do. Matter of fact, the most important people in our organization are those frontline staff out there taking care of our residents, our customers, right? That's the most important people. They're the face of Primrose. That's who, when families and residents that live in our building think about Primrose, they think about those people that are taking care of them. They ain't thinking about me. The only time they're thinking about me is when we do a rent increase and they need to talk to somebody higher up. That's what I hear about. It's humility. And it's respect. It's building relationships. You do things to get your people to trust you. And you trust them. I don't micromanage. I lay out expectations and expect them to get the things done that they need to get done. I got great partners. I can't say enough good things about them. They're good Catholic men, and it's fun to be in that organization with them. I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for the life that I have. My family's important. It's been a battle. It feels like you look back, and this has caused me to just reflect on life. I was talking to Wade Vandover this morning on my way to the foundation offices to meet with Mark and his staff over here. Wade called me because we're getting ready for the Bishop's Fishing Tournament up there, and he says, "Hey, you ready for this?" I said, "I don't know what I need to be ready for. Joe said just tell the story, and the story's pretty boring, so I don't know what I got." And but I was telling him it causes you to reflect. It causes you to think back, and I found myself being very, very grateful for the people in my life that have had an influence on me. And I just hope that I've had an impact on people as well, whether it's business associates or my kids. And I think I have. But I'm just so, so grateful for what I have. One other thing that I think I'd like to share with you guys before I get out of here, because I think Joe's over here going like this, like 5 minutes or something like that. I'm not sure what that means, but what's always been important to Brandy and me is tithing. We decided right away, and I watched my dad write out that check to the church. I watched my dad support a Catholic school that we didn't go to, And I remember my mom, because my mom wasn't Catholic. My mom joined the Catholic Church when I was 16 years old. But she went to Mass with us every day. When we were in Warner, there's no Catholic church there, so we were members of Sacred Heart in Aberdeen. And I remember my mom asking my dad, why are you giving to that school? Your kids don't even go there. And he said, it's my school. It's a mission of the church. So that's what he did. That was an important lesson for me at a very young age. And so my wife and I early on decided that 10% of everything that we get is going to the church. And I've learned you can't outgive God. A few other things that suggestions I'll make to all of you sitting here. Get to know your priests. We get to know all our priests. Have them over for supper. We got a little group in Aberdeen, we call us the Wingdingers. We get together with our priests, and we have some reflection time, and then we play some games, we do all sorts of things, but we treat them as our friends. They are our priests, but they are our friends, and they're human. Get to know them. Support them. Help them in any way you can. Get involved in your parish. It's very important. It's important for your faith life. It'll draw you closer to Christ. Pray with your spouse daily if you can. Twice daily if you can. That's been the best thing for our marriage, is the prayer and the Mass time that we've spent together. Go to adoration. You know, I never used to like to go to adoration. I'd go to adoration, it's like, what am I going to do here? I felt like I had to be reading a book or praying the rosary or something, and I'd go there, and I'm looking at that clock going, an hour. How am I going to spend an hour here? This is ridiculous. I just didn't appreciate it. My spiritual director just kept encouraging me to go and go and go, and he finally told me, BJ, you don't have to do anything. And that's when I found it was the best. That's when I found how much you could feel the presence of our Lord. I go in there now. When I go, I'll go to the back row of the small chapel at Sacred Heart, and I'll lean back in the chair and I'll take a nap. And you know what? It's the best nap you can take. It's awesome, and I don't feel a bit bad about it. And lastly, support our seminarians. They need it. They need our prayers. They need funding. They're good men, and they're discerning to be a priest of Jesus Christ. We need more of them. We start running out of priests. We don't have the most important thing in life, and that's the Eucharist. Father Morgan said it up there just today in Mass. So support the seminarians. Support your priests.